Welcome back. As you know, I'm Eli the Computer Guy here for the Daily Blob, where we say maybe, just maybe, you should be careful when you're screwing with the global supply chain because it might turn around and bite you in the ass if you do things the way our current administration is doing things. Anyways, before we get into this particular video today, I do want to do the shout out for silicondojo.com. So we're doing fireside chats next week. We have Louis Rossman coming in on Monday. So we're going to talk with him about what he is currently doing. And then we have a guy, David Cox. He's VP of AI things over at IBM. And we will be doing a Zoom session with him on Thursday of next week. If you're interested in being part of those sessions, basically you can come to silicondojo.com, you can RSVP, you can come on the Zoom, and you can ask your own questions. I have heard from the masses. They've said, Eli, we're tired of you crapping on our dreams of being technology professionals all the time. And I have heard your complaints. And so I'm going to bring other people in to crap on your dreams of becoming technology professionals. I listen to you, and I respond. It's not my fault if it's not probably the way you want me to respond. That's just how the world works. Anyways, I think this is an interesting story. This is coming from Tom's Hardware, plus a number of other different places. Samsung delays $44 billion Texas chip fab. Sources say completion halted because, quote, there are no customers. So one of the big things going on right now from the Biden administration and from the Trump administration is trying to reassure the production, especially of silicon and electronic devices and that type of deal. The concept being is that we have lost control over our destiny because silicon really isn't produced at scale in the United States anymore. It's produced by TSMC over in Taiwan and other places, and so they want to bring that back to the United States. So Biden came out with a CHIPS Act where he was just throwing money around. He was just tossing the money around. And of course, we have Trump doing whatever the hell it is Trump is doing today. I'm going to do like one video on Trump today, and that's all I can get to because he's just doing so much shit. Have you heard about the 50% copper tariff? Yeah, apparently he's just going to do a 50% copper tariff. Because that makes sense. Or the 200% pharmaceutical tariff. There's going to be a 200% pharmaceutical tariff. Maybe, probably, who the hell knows? He just threw that out there. Because if there is one thing that will improve the medical situation in the United States, it's doubling the cost of our drugs. Anyways, Trump is doing what Trump's doing. Literally, he is so cracked out on Diet Coke, it is very difficult to even keep up with. But one of the issues that we get into with this whole world of global supply chains is not only do we buy from other people, but other people buy from us, and we buy from other people to produce things that other people will buy from us so they can change it to buy back to us again, and the whole nine yards. It's that whole thing like what's going on between us and Canada right now, where you have these auto manufacturers with these insane supply chains, where a part goes from the United States to Canada, back to the United States, to Canada, back to the United States, to Canada, into a car in the United States. And somebody thought that was a good idea to begin with anyways. But the issue is, right, so when you start doing these tariffs and when you start screwing with the supply chain, the ripple effects can be very damaging, and that's why you have to be careful. That's where I talk about there's the policy, right? There's the policy. Should we focus on globalization or should we focus on isolation, right? Those are our policies. And then there are the actual implementations of the policies. And one of the things that I scream about most with either Biden or with Trump is that the implementations are just ass. The technical term for the implementations are ass. You have senile old losers who are trying to, be the puppet masters of systems that they fundamentally don't understand. And it's really just screwing things up. Anyways, Samsung needs chip buyers for it to start running its Texas chip fab. And I also think this is an interesting thing talking about the economy, where I talk about we're in an economic kerfuffle. To be clear, we've been in an economic kerfuffle since 2008. The recession never ended. The Great Recession ended. Like the recession part of the Great Recession ended. The stupidity of the Great Recession just still has not ended. And the issue is, like, right now, we have all this weird economic stuff going on. We have layoffs and weird things going on with the housing market and all kinds of just weirdness. But we're told it's not a recession. Like, you shouldn't complain that it's a recession because it's not a recession, but you are getting laid off, and housing is both more affordable and or less affordable and harder to sell and all this kind of thing. And I think it's interesting just to see this as the economy kind of fractures, and to see the weird areas where it fractures in. And that's going to be a big thing for for investing in manufacturing in the United States. Is in order to invest in manufacturing in the United States, you have to put a tremendous amount of money on the table with the expectation that you're going to get returns. And so with the weirdness going on, I think there's a lot of question about whether or not the returns are actually there. Even if you have people that say, yes, we want to bring manufacturing back to the United States, investors invest to make money. They don't invest to lose money. Anyways. Samsung is reportedly delaying the launch of its Taylor, Texas fab, citing difficulties in securing customers for its output. Sources told Nikkei Asia that even if the South Korean chip maker brings in the necessary equipment to produce chips at the new plant, the company cannot do anything with them due to the lack of demand. Aside from that, the original planned process node for the Taylor plant is no longer aligned with current demand, highlighting the rapid pace of semiconductor technology. The chip maker started construction of the Taylor fab in 2022 with an initial investment of $17 billion. By 2024, the company decided to increase this to $44 billion with the addition of another advanced fab and expanded R&D operations. This move is supported by a $6.6 billion CHIPS Act subsidy, which was finalized in December last year. Samsung C&T, the primary contractor for the Taylor fab, states that the construction of the site is progressing. Documents from the company show that the site is almost 92% complete as of March 2024. Work on the site was originally scheduled to finish the following month, but regulatory filings indicate that this was moved to October. Lack of demand drives delay. No reason was given for the delay, but multiple sources indicated that it occurred due to a lack of demand. It was initially planned for the Taylor fab to produce chips for the 4-nanometer process node, but this has since been upgraded to 2 nanometer to compete with TSMC and Intel. The supply chain executive told the publication that there is little demand for the original planned 4-nanometer process node at the site. Quote, local demand for chips isn't particularly strong, and the process nodes Samsung planned several years ago no longer meet the current customer needs. However, overhauling the plant would be a major and costly undertaking, so the company is adopting a wait-and-see approach for now. Although it has already declared its intention to upgrade the site to manufacture the 2-nanometer process node, that is a resource-intensive task in terms of time, effort, and money. And so this is also an interesting thing with this whole idea of trying to bring manufacturing back to the United States, especially trying to twist companies' arms to bring manufacturing back to the United States. If things are moving so rapidly, even if you convince companies to build factories based on how the world is now, what will the status of the world be in the 2 years it takes to actually create the factory, to build the factory? Samsung has already been operating a mature node in Austin, Texas since 1996. Despite that, the Taylor fab shows the challenges that a chipmaker faces when setting up shop in a new location. Aside from needing to build a facility, the company must also build a new supply chain, recruit skilled labor, and find buyers for the fab's output. The company is facing more than just yield issues. Recent geopolitical changes have thrown a wrench in the global expansion of several semiconductor manufacturers, including TSMC and Samsung. Despite resilient growth in AI and data center markets, demand for consumer goods and commodities remains subdued. Quote, although yields have since improved, U.S. restrictions on high-end chip production for China have further weighed on the company, keeping its capacity utilization below the industry average, TrendForce analyst Joan Chow said to Nikkei Asia. So think about this too, right? There's this whole thing, this push by the Trump administration right? Things have to be manufactured in the United States. So one of the things that we can manufacture that has a high value is chips, is processors, is all this AI equipment. So the companies are like, okay, right? Either we get money through the CHIPS Act, so we get tax breaks and that type of thing, or Trump twists our arm so we can create the factories in the United States. But at the same time, right, we have those AI diffusion rules, or the children of the AI diffusion rules. Basically the idea that we don't want China to get our AI technology, right? So basically these companies can't sell to China. So think about this for a second. You must build factories. You must invest in the United States in order to create these technology products. At the exact same time, we are going to decrease the number of people that you're able to sell to. Do you think that makes good business sense? President Trump's announcement of far-reaching tariffs has caused widespread uncertainty, but it has greatly impacted consumer electronics and automobiles, key sectors that order the most chips. The Chinese market is continuously growing despite that, but the ongoing trade war between East and West is making it difficult, if not impossible, for Samsung to deliver customers in the country. Despite these factors, Samsung says that it will proceed with the opening of the Taylor fab by 2026. Nikkei Asia says the company did not give a specific timeline for the opening of its factory, nor did it comment about equipment installation or the lack of customers. That's the other thing that we also have to be careful about with all these companies is they give deadlines, but there's no real cost for not hitting those deadlines. Remember the Foxconn factory that was going to be created? I think it was in Wisconsin. Remember the first Trump administration? There was going to be this massive Foxconn facility. I think it was going to be in Wisconsin, and it was going to create all this cutting edge stuff. And it's still fields. It's still fields, right? They went in with eminent domain. They took over people's farms. So they took lands from the citizens of the United States in order to produce the state-of-the-art factory. And then the state-of-the-art factory didn't get produced, right? So it allowed Trump to declare this amazing thing that he was able to bring to the country, except that amazing thing didn't actually come to the country. Something to be very careful about. Even though it might not have clients for the Taylor fab at the moment, the company can only delay its opening for so long. If it doesn't push through with operating the fab, it risks falling behind rival TSMC and wasting billions of dollars already invested in the site. So this will be an interesting thing to look at. This was published July 3rd, 2025, so a couple of days ago. And it'll be curious to see how the reshoring of manufacturing actually works out in the United States, and how the reshoring of manufacturing works out in the United States as we have presidential policies that are literally working at cross purposes, right? You have to bring back this chip production to the United States so that things can be produced here. At the exact same time, we are going to keep you not just from selling to China, right? I've talked about this before. Yesterday, I talked about in a video where there's a new policy that there's going to be licenses for Thailand and Malaysia, right? So under the Biden administration, they started doing restrictions for selling AI chips to the Middle East, to South America, and even to countries in Europe, right? There's this idea, oh my God, what if China, man, gets our AI? Right? It's a madness. It's a madness. It's the China man infection in our politicians. Anyways, right? So I talked about this. This was under the Biden administration, right? Preventing even our own allies from being able to easily access these AI processors because maybe China will get a hold of them. Anyways, but what we're seeing this expand. Not only are we not selling to China, but then we're making it difficult to sell to European countries. We're making it difficult to sell to the Middle East. We're making it difficult to sell to Southeast Asia. So hey, you global technology company, why don't you come to the United States in order to set up your factories where the cost of labor is going to be through the roof, the regulations are going to be through the roof, and we are going to state that you can't sell to half the world. That's our sales pitch. How can you say no to that? And it'll be curious to see how this all fleshes out. At this point, I suppose we are actually 6 months. We're 6 months in the Trump administration. we only have 3.5 years to go. So anyways, we are 6 months into an administration that pulls tariffs out of their buttocks that you're not even expecting. As I've said, we're now going to have a 50% a copper tariff. So think about these types of factories, right? With electronic goods, they use a lot of copper. All of a sudden, cost for that copper is going to be 50% more expensive. Now, there's going to be a BRICS tariff. Have you heard about that? Yeah, I don't know. I guess there was this BRICS meeting and somebody made a joke about Trump. So now the BRICS nation, anybody that supports the BRICS countries is going to get another automatic 10% tariff because the only thing Trump understands is tariffs. And I just want you to think about companies spending $44 billion in order to create build fabs in this type of bat crap, insane environment. I don't know. We'll see how it works out. We will see how it works out. So what do you think about this? What do you think about Samsung delaying their $44 billion Texas fab because there are no customers? What do you think about the cross policies of things like the Trump administration demanding more manufacturing in the United States at the exact same time they limit who the manufacturers can sell to? What do you think about just the bat crap insane policies? Again, you look at something like a chip fab, and all of a sudden, we have a 50% copper tariff coming down the pike. Why? What? Who the hell knows? Who knows? Who knows? Does Trump know? Who knows? What do you think about this whole thing and what is going on in our technology world? Put your thoughts down below. Remember, it doesn't matter whether it's a thumb up, a thumb down, an awesome comment, or a horrible comment. In the modern world of social media, it is all an interaction. Your interactions are all the same in the eyes of the algorithm. So please put something down below. And with that, I'll see y'all later.